Bechoros Daf Nun Aleph. We learned in the Mishnah that the 5 shekel of Pidyon Ben, the 30 shekel that you give if your ox killed a slave, the 50 shekel of Oinis Mafata, and the 100 shekel of Moisi Shemra, it's all shekel HaKodesh. It has to be Monet Suri denomination. Now the question is, why does the Mishnah mention twice that it has to be the Chulam B'Shekel HaKodesh? Says the Gemara, it comes to answer that Oinis and Moisi Shemra, it doesn't say in the Torah specifically shekel. So I would think that you could use Zuzim, Dinarim. Comes the Mishnah to say that Moisi Shemra and Oines are similar to the other 3 things in the Mishnah, and they also require Monetzuri Shekel HaKodesh. The end of the Mishnah says that in the entire Torah you could use the value of money instead of money itself. You don't necessarily have to bring money. Besides the Machzis HaShekel that Klal Yisrael brings in other to bring korbanos for the Mizbeach. Why is it? Because we're concerned that perhaps if you bring something that's the value of a Machzis HaShekel, you might bring a little less, and you'll be stealing from the Beis HaMikdash. The Gemara brings another 2 things that the Torah was makbid on a certain type of money that's Meiser Sheni. Although we said yesterday Meiser Sheni can bring copper coins, but they have to be minted copper coins. They can't just be any coin. And that's because the Torah says V'tzarta HaKesef. The money must be with a tzura, with a minted coin. Hey ro'oyin, where we say every morning has no shear, but midrabanan, there's a machlekes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. When you bring a carbon like today, Erev Shavuos, Klal Yisrael will be busy bringing karbanos. You bring a oila and you bring a shlamim. There is a minimum what you need to spend on that carbon midrabanan, either 2 ma or 1 ma, and that money must be minted. Says the Mishnah, and as explained by the Gemara, the pasuk by Pidyon Ben says, Uvduyov, you could redeem the Bechor in any denomination, in value of money, and it says Tifda, any way you want to be paided. And then the Torah says Kesef. That's what we call a klal, prat uklal, or a ribui, miut, and a ribui. So our Tana holds it's a klal, prat uklal, and it comes to exclude 3 things. Karka, which is not metaltalin, you can't move it, and slaves are always compared to karka, and it also comes to exclude shtaros. Shtar itself says, I owe Pliny. If somebody owes me money, I can't use that shtar and give it to a kohen. Why? Because the shtar itself has no value. And the same halacha applies to hegdish. When it comes to hegdish, and I want to redeem an animal, I can't redeem the animal and give hegdish, instead of money, give hegdish a slave, or give hegdish real estate, or a shtar. According to Rebbe, there's only one thing you can't use to redeem your son as a Pidyon Ben, and that is a shtar. Why is it? Because Rebbe learns a ribui, miut, and a ribui from the same words, uvduyav, tivda, and kasef, and therefore he only is memait one thing. Why did Rebbe pick shtar and not avodim and karkois? That's because Rashi explains shtar has the least value out of the 3. Since uvduyav and tivda are really close together, and only afterwards it says kesef, usually the kesef is inserted between the 2 klal. So that's why Rebbe learns over here ribui, miut, ribui. But typically in Shas, Rebbe learns klal u'prat u'klal, like we see by Meretzeya. How do you make the hole in the slave's ear? Says Rebbe, you use only metal, because I have a klal, prat u'klal, it has to be metal. You can't use a toothpick or a splinter or any tool made out of wood. Not like Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, who learns a ribui, miut, and ribui, and he says you could use everything. All tools, anything that you grab in your hand, the only thing you can't use, he says, is poison that would make a hole in the skin. According to Chachamim, anytime you have 2 klalis together, like uvduyav and tivda, you take the kesef, the green, and you insert it between the 2 reds. You pretend it's there and you make a klal u'prat u'klal, or ribu miyut and miyut. Says the Mishnah, if somebody wrote to the kohen, he says, I owe you 5 selah, and he wanted to use that as a Pidyon Ben, it doesn't work. If he went ahead and he gave him the money, says the Mishnah, he has to give him another 5 shekel, another 5 selah. Although midaraisa it works, but Chacham were concerned that people might think that the shtar works, so therefore they said any money that's connected to the shtar doesn't work, and he must pay the kohen another 5 selah. If the kohen wants, he can go and give back the 5 selah, and that's okay. And that's the halacha, even though there are those who say that he's yotze with the first 5 selah. Another halacha, that if somebody took the Pidyon Ben money, the 5 selah, went over to a group of kohanim, put it in the middle, and he ran away, he's yotze. Another halacha is that if he gave the kohen one selah, and then he gave it to him in installments, a week later he gave him another selah, it's a good pidyon haben. The kohen is permitted to give back, as we said, the pidyon haben, and Rav Tarfon was a kohen, he used to give people back. Not always, says Taisus, if they were poor, but he used to give back pidyon haben. And Chacham said that even this halacha, he was Mekayim. The Gemara says a story of Chanina would give back the pidyon haben. One day, somebody gave him pidyon haben, and that person started pacing back and forth, hinting to him, I would like my pidyon haben money back. So Reb Chanina, you weren't Yoitza. What you did was bad. You must redo the whole thing because you had no intent in giving it to me, and therefore you have to do pidyon haben all over again. And Rashi explains, even if Reb Chanina didn't give it back to him, it still wouldn't be a good pidyon haben. If somebody set aside pidyon haben money, and it got lost or stolen, he has to guarantee that money, he has to redo it, he has to repay. Although, by Peter Chamar, if you set aside the money, it does work. Why is it? Because it says in the Torah, by Aaron HaKohen Yiyah, it's only a pidyon when Aaron HaKohen receives the money in his hand. And then the Torah says, Ufadei Tivda. Then it becomes a good pidyon. And the same halach we have by Erechin and by Oilas Re'iyah, that a person he's responsible for the money, and if it gets lost, he has to replace it. And says the Gemara, we learn from that also the case where a firstborn male was born, and he lived 30 days where his father had a chiyuv to give the kohen pidyon haben, and then he died. One would think that the father doesn't have to do pidyon haben. Who exactly is he redeeming? The kid that he's trying to redeem is dead. And the answer is that the father had a chiyuv, the kid was alive at day 30, he had to pay then, and that chiyuv remains. And that we learn from Erechin and Oilas Re'iyah. Have a wonderful Shabbos, a wonderful Yontif. I'll see you Be'ezer Hashem on Matzah Yontif.